Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host Zara Pedersen, and in today's episode we are going to discuss verse 28 in Surah al Rum, or the Romans. Verse 28 in Surah al Rum, or the Romans. Very quickly, as usual, before we begin, the translation I am using is the one that can be found in my Quran journal by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. It's the journal is available for purchase on wherever I have my link and all that good stuff. And for those of you who are looking or watching the video, you'll be able to see, because I'm kind of showing you right now, just like what it looks like on the inside, where in the middle margins or whatever it's called, you've got the text in English, and then on the outside margins you've got space to take your notes. And because it is a Quran with no Arabic writing in it, it is only the translation. You can highlight, take notes, handle this book without a wudu. You can be on your period and still sit down and study the Quran journal, and that is exactly why I created it, because I wanted to make it as easy as possible for me and remove any kind of excuses for me to sit down and open my Quran and study it. So that is, as usual, linked everywhere. And so if you want to study alongside with me, or you like the translation that I'm using, you can go ahead and purchase your own Quran journal in the links, all the good places that I can put links. Okay, so let's go into this, because it's quite a short verse that I'm going to share with you, but I feel like it's very impactful. I mean, everything in the Quran is impactful when you read it at the right time, right? But this specific one, I think, serves more as a reminder for us right now than a lot of other things. And I think specifically for me, being a coach for Muslim women, there are certain things that I see time and again, and so this kind of resonated with me quite highly. So the verse that I am sharing with you goes as following: He sets forth for you an example taken from your own lives. That is it. That is the verse 28 in Surah al Rum. He sets forth for you an example taken from your own lives. So, you know, if we're just reading the Quran and we're not sort of paying attention, and we're not sort of like taking a moment and breathing and actually understanding what we're reading, that would be quite an easy one to sort of be like, yeah, of course, and then moving on, right? But I think when we take a moment and we are trying to read the Quran from a perspective of gaining some type of clarity from ourselves, this is a very powerful reminder for us that everything that happens from us is something from our own life, so that Allah uses us and the things that we are going through specifically for us, because it's taken from our own lives. So he's not going to take something that has happened to you and put it in my life unless it is something that is relevant also in my own life, meaning Allah knows what impacts us the most, which is so wonderful. Of course he does. And I think one of the reasons why it reads so much more powerful to me is also because of the placement of it and how he sort of says it, because this comes after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains who he is in this surah. So if we start from surah 26, he says, verse 26, he says, all those in the heavens and on the earth belong to him. All are obedient to him. He is the one who originates creation, then he repeats it, and it's very easy for him. He's the most exalted state in the heavens and on the earth. He is the mighty, the wise one. Then it comes, he sets forth for you an example taken from your own lives. So he's using sort of this in the way that he explains himself. He goes from this, I would say sort of like, generally speaking, kind of know of Allah, and then he adds this little thing in the end of this explanation of who he is, because it's the ability of Allah, right? So what happens to you is not random. What happens to you, and I think this is so powerful, is so well planned out. It is so thought through. It is so a part of the essence of who Allah is, that the things that are happening in your life are so important, because it speaks into who Allah is. And that is what I take from it when I read it this way, because it comes from this point of, Allah is this, I am this, he is, well, he says he in this point, right? So in describing himself, and then he's using this as like that little add-on, a new little element. So if you've read the Quran and studied the Quran, you'll see that some of these things, like he's repeated several times before in the Quran and several times after these specific verses about how everything in the heavens and on the earth belongs to him and everybody is obedient to him. He originates creation and he repeats it and it's easy for him. And so all of these things he's repeated in other places. And then he does that thing, subhanAllah, where he just adds a little element that's slightly new to us, even though we know it. We know it, right? But we don't think about it. And this one, I just find it so beautiful in the way that he has built it up but this is also who I am. I'm the one who chooses to set examples for you taken from your own life. So everything, those examples, those tests that you're going through in life, Allah has taken those tests specifically from your own life to teach you something, to test you on, to help you grow from. So nothing is random. Nothing is by happenstance. Nothing is sort of like, oh, whoopsie, like I forgot to plan that bit, and I think this speaks very well into the episode that I recorded before this one, which was the one that came out on Monday around, this mindset of like, what if thinking. And it should give you a sense of calmness around things that have happened in your life, because they have happened for a reason, because that is the example he's going to set for you in your life, because that's what's going to have the most impact for you. And so it is up to you to reflect on it from a position of, Allah allowed it to be, and he's using this as an example. What is he trying to teach me? What is he trying to tell me? What lesson is he putting down that I should be picking up? And the more we kind of remind ourselves of that, the easier it becomes for us to surrender to Allah's will instead of resisting it because it doesn't look the way that we expected it to or what we wanted it to look like. And again, I think the way that it has been set up in the Quran, and for anybody who has studied the Quran before, have listened to other people who sat down and studied the Quran, whether they are, scholars, learners, or just like a random person like myself who's like, wow, I really want to learn more and I want to share what I'm learning, you'll know that there, even in the Quran, the way that the Quran has been built and set up, again, it's not by accident. Everything has been set up in a way that is impactful for, like, there's a reason. There's a reason for the placement. And I found this one to be such a beautiful placement because, again, it speaks into the greatness of Allah, the powerfulness of Allah, the grandness of his plans, the grandness of his planning for us, and how quickly sometimes we can forget it, especially when something we deem to be not great happens to us. And it can be so easy in those moments to be like, I don't know, Allah probably made a mistake here, or I don't know, Allah doesn't want me to be happy or whatever. And it's like, no, it is so carefully planned out and prepped for you that it is literally a part of who Allah is. It is a part of Allah. And so to deny that bit is to deny who Allah is. And this is why I constantly say to anybody who's willing to listen, creating a relationship with Allah and trying to the very best of our limited, possibility, or whatever you want to call, to the best of our, oh my God, what's the word? You know exactly what I'm thinking of, and you're probably shouting it at me and I can't remember. To the best of our ability. Thank you so much. Thank you for shouting it loud enough because I finally heard you. To the best of our ability to get to know Allah within the limitations that we have, of course, to get to know him, because the more we know him, we know his way of doing things, and the easier it then becomes for us to surrender and let go, instead of being stuck and resisting and getting frustrated and irritated and angry because things aren't going the way that we think it should be going. And that is why it's so important to get to know Allah. And this is again why it's so important for us to sit down as Muslims and not just read the Quran, but try to study it, try to understand it, try and see what speaks to us, what are we taking away from it. And one thing that I will say in that I've kind of noticed is some people come to me like, how do I know how to study the Quran? Or what if I'm not reading it correct? There's no wrong way of studying the Quran. You cannot study it wrong. You cannot read it wrong. You read the Quran and you take away from it what speaks to you. Anybody can pick up the Quran and start studying it, right? And it's important because while I'm going through something right now, I'm reading some things and like it'll reflect so heavily on me. Like, as I said, this one spoke to me immediately because I quite often get a lot of clients and DMs and stuff like from people who are like, I don't know why this is happening to me. And, you know, kind of getting stuck on things that happened in the past and not being able to move on. And so when I read this, it was just sort of like one of those like, there's another example that I can use to sort of like help people understand that it's there for a reason, right? Where other people might not have sort of like, that didn't speak to me. Like, I don't have an issue with that. But other things might have, you know, there's one here. I don't know. I probably will. No, actually, I'm gonna talk about that. But okay. For instance, verse 33, right? So I've highlighted this as well, but for other people, they might have like a more of a impact on them. But for me, it's just like I find it interesting. But for some other people, that might be more of an interesting thing for them to highlight would be verse 33 in this same surah, where it says, when an affliction befalls men, they cry out to their Lord, turning to him in repentance. But then when he's made them taste his mercy, a selection of them associate partners with their Lord and are ungrateful for what we have given them. So that's like another verse. Again, I've highlighted it because it speaks to something for me, but this other verse that I'm sharing with you today was something where it's like, that is something that I want to share because it feels very impactful. The other one, of course, is also impactful, but in a very different way, right? So there's no wrong way of reading it. You take from it what you need. And if I was reading this, say, 3 years ago, I probably would have highlighted different things and I would probably have gotten a different message from it because the Quran is so wonderfully diverse. I don't know if that's the right word to use here, but sort of flexible, I suppose, would be the word, for lack of better word, I suppose, because it doesn't matter what mindset you're in and the moment and the situations that you're in when you're reading it, there will always be something that you'll be able to read in that moment that'll apply to exactly what you're going through or what you're feeling and getting you that support that you need in that moment. So yeah, I don't know why I got down that little rabbit hole there, but definitely just to say, you know, there's no wrong ways of reading the Quran, which is also why I definitely highly encourage all of you, not just to take my words from it. Like, I love that you're listening to the podcast and all these things, but absolutely, definitely get yourself a Quran journal or a Quran in general that you can read from and start studying and reading it for your own as well. Even the things that I discuss here, maybe you're getting something different out of it than what I'm getting from it. That doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It means that the Quran is such a beautiful tool that specifically applies to us, each and every single one of us, to our own specific and unique journeys. And what I take from it, I might be able to sort of like give to you in one way. What you take from it, you might be able to give to me in a different way, right? And that's so wonderfully beautiful. But yes, that's anyway. Again, I'm sort of rambling on there on something completely different. But I hope that there was something in that that was beneficial for you and that it inspired you to want to pick up the Quran for yourself if you haven't done so already. But I just love, again, this example of how he's sort of weaving in this thing. He's talking about his grandeur and this excellence, and then he speaks about us. And what does that do for the human ego? It makes us perk up, right? Oh, Allah speaks about us now. Oh, Allah's greatness. Yeah, of course, Allah is great. Oh, he's speaking about me now. He says about us now. Oh, okay, I'm interested now. My ego, you've got my ego's attention, right? You're speaking about me. What do I need to know? What are you saying about me, right? We're very simple creatures, us humans. And it is a part of who he is. SubhanAllah. It is a part of who Allah is. It is a part of the description of who Allah is. And that's a wonderful thing. So don't deny the things that are happening to you. Don't resist it. It is part of who Allah is. And there's so much blessing and growth and lessons in there for us if we're just willing to open our minds up and think of it from a different perspective rather than from things didn't go my way. Boo-hoo, wah-wah. I'm going to cry about it. Maybe you can cry about it a little bit because sometimes it's, kind of nice to get that out of your system, but don't live there. Don't stay there. Remember that he's set that example forth for you for a reason. There's a reason behind it, and it is part of who Allah is. That's just the way Allah operates, and it is wonderfully perfect and wonderfully planned out, and it's just done to absolute perfection. All right, my darling, that is all I have for you today. I hope that there was something beneficial for you in today's episode, and I hope that it helps you think differently about some of the things that you've gone through in your past, and help putting it slightly differently to understand perhaps a little bit better why you're going through some of the things that you are either currently going through or have gone through in your past, and to reconcile a little bit better with it. And inshallah, I will see you in next week's episode, Monday. But until then, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.